Welcome to another episode of The Wandering Watercolor. Let's paint. So this is the second page of the Chattanooga Scenery Watercolor Coloring book. It's a book that I make through the use of lithographs. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description. This page, when we're done with it, will look something like this. This is just a printout of the original that I made. The colors will look a little more vibrant and lighter than this. I just wanted to give you an idea. Now, this is a very detailed image, as you can tell. The image is from Lookout Mountain, and this is actually the city of Chattanooga, and it's overlooking it. This is back from Civil War times. It's actually a really interesting site to visit. I highly recommend anyone visiting Chattanooga goes to Point Park. That's where that's located. It's a national park. But the images, you can tell, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of colors. I took this image during fall, so we're going to be mixing a lot. There's a lot of detail, a lot going on. So just to give you the heads up, this video tutorial will be somewhere between an hour to an hour and a half. Sorry, I was just looking at the clock. And as always, you need a place to mix your colors. This is just a soap dish. It's a porcelain soap dish. You can just use any old regular dish that's made out of porcelain or glass. I suggest those two just because they're easy to wash off. You need a scrap piece of paper for mixing and testing colors. It doesn't even have to be watercolor. It's good to just kind of see them sometimes. Although if you have a porcelain dish to mix your colors, you can also just test them there. A rag or a paper towel, something that you can use to dry your brush as well as pick up color off of the painting. And then a palette. Any palette works. I just use simple color terms like red, light red, blue, pink, that kind of stuff. I don't use any of the technical terms just because I think it's unnecessary and it's easier to just be more straightforward. Okay, let's get started. Oh, and as always, just 1 or 2 cups of water on the side. Okay, so I'm just going to wet my brush. The very first thing that I will start with is blocking in just a flat wash for where all of the rocks are, because the initial flat layer to establish the base color will be the same. There's not a lot of variation there. So what we'll do is grab some of the light blue, rinse our brush, grab some of the brown, which actually need a lot more of the brown. And that'll give us a pretty nice kind of organic, more earthy gray. I try to avoid using black to make the grays whenever I'm painting anything organic like rocks or earth. Mainly, yeah, anything that's not man-made that's grayish. Otherwise, if it's something metal like this, for example, this is the spray bottle that I use to wet my paints, I would use just straight black to mix the gray for that. Okay, just test that out a little bit. Need a little more water in that. And then I'm just laying it down. And remember, this color will dry much lighter than what it looks like right now. So we're just going to lay all that in. Don't worry about going into the wrong shapes or like messing up some of the details. That's bound to happen. Honestly, you're just going to have a much better time if you don't worry about that. Yeah. And this, what we're doing right here, that's called the flat wash. It's just so you can kind of get the base color in. We're not worried about texture or anything else. I'm just going to paint right over this chain because it's such a delicate detail. I don't want to worry about going around it. I'm just going to paint right over it. Since the color that it will be much darker than the actual rock that we're painting, it won't make a difference. So don't worry about it. Just go ahead and paint right over it. And then we're just going to finish out laying in all the color here, maybe a little bit over there in that loop. And you can even grab some water directly from your cup to help stretch out some of the color of the rocks. And be brave about laying in the color, because if you stop and hesitate, you can it'll start drying out, and then you can kind of make it look a little weird. Unless you're wanting to throw in a little texture in there. And for the record, you don't have to follow these tutorials. You can always just paint them exactly as you like. I actually really enjoy seeing what people make, how creative people can get with these. This is just kind of a baseline to tell you what you can do, but you don't have to follow it. So yeah. Okay, so we have that blocked in. I'm gonna rinse my brush. And then I'm going to grab some of the green, just straight green, and then we're going to be doing a little bit of blending here. And basically, don't worry about letting the blending look chaotic. Initially, that's what you want, and then we can layer in shadows for detail. And feel free to watch the demonstration first and then go back and do it yourself, just so you can get an idea. So for example, there's some branches right here. Those will be brown when we get to painting them. But first we want to lay in the green of the leaves, but there's also yellow in those leaves as well as orange because they're changing color during fall. The way we'll do that is I'll just go ahead and you can even go directly from the palette directly onto the paper if you feel comfortable. And you see how I'm adding, it's very strong color. I'm just adding it all in, and then I'm gonna add some, rinse my brush. I'm just gonna, while the brush is moist, I'm just gonna grab it like that, spread it around a little bit, and then I'm gonna go directly for the yellow. Just grab directly the yellow from there. I'm gonna put it in the tips of the branch leaves and then kind of pull it back, and you see how it blends? It makes it very interesting. It creates a really nice effect. And then you can touch up here and there, maybe a little bit down here where the branches are. Okay, and then I'm just gonna grab directly from the orange, same thing. I'm gonna rinse my brush a little bit and then mix it in. And see, that creates such a pleasant effect. This is a little bit more of an advanced technique, but you can kind of, it's pretty simple to understand. It's pretty straightforward. And after this dries, when we go in and add the branches and then some excuse me, and then some shadows, it looks so much more interesting and organic. Actually, I add a little bit more orange here just because when it dries out, it looks more faint, and then this makes it stand out a little more. And there's going to be other strong areas of orange, so we want to have a good balance. But anyway, that's basically what we're going for there. And then, so we'll progress to down over here towards this area. And this will be, same thing. We're gonna grab some green directly from the palette. Feel free to grab it directly from down here if you prefer, if you don't want to go directly for the very strong green. Okay, so we have that. Okay, we'll go ahead and grab this orange. Go ahead and lay that down around the rock, right like that, and then kind of do a couple of dabs here and there, kind of sporadic. And after that, I'm gonna grab this yellow directly from the palette. Go ahead and do the tips over here. Just kind of blend it in. It does alter the look as you're doing it. That's fine. It's totally fine. Blend it in with the green. Bring it up. It's so interesting to watch and paint leaves as they're changing colors. It's really fun. I suggest it. Like, just go and find a tree in a park somewhere, sit down, have a nice relaxing afternoon there's just so much going on while that's happening. Okay, so we're just gonna leave that as it is. I'm gonna dry my brush actually with my towel. I'm just gonna pick a little bit off of the edge that's kind of bothering me. It's not really a big deal. I'm just gonna pick up a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Next step over here, there's gonna be some orange highlights here and there. This corner is gonna be pretty dark, but we'll build that up over time. So just grab your green, lay it in, do kind of like some short strokes just to leave spots for where the orange will be. Okay, after we throw all that in here, we're gonna rinse our brush, grab our yellow directly from the palette, just throw it right in, mix it in here for the edge of the leaves, for the shrub right here. Okay, that looks good. Go ahead and grab our orange directly, put some orange highlight spots over here. It's okay if they mix in with the green and the yellow. It's kind of the desired effect. Okay, and then I'm just gonna, sorry I keep saying and then, I'm just gonna go ahead and put that green in here. The stronger green more towards the base of that shrub. That looks good. I'm gonna grab some direct yellow. I'm gonna go ahead and lay that in right here, like that, like that. Looks pretty good. Some more over here, down here. There is a lot of detail here. You can see it's kind of easier to make out as you block things in, but feel free to take your time. No need to rush. There's going to be a lot of yellow right here, right here, right here, and around the tips of these leaves on these branches over here. So, first thing we'll do is we'll grab the yellow. We'll go right here at the tips of these branches, just slather them in yellow. Don't even worry about too much of the detail. Just go ahead and right in there. Looks good. A little bit up here. Rinse our brush. Grab some of that green. Going back here, as well as up here a little bit. Kind of start blending it in as it at the edge of the yellow. A little bit over here. Back here. Down here a little bit. We are going to leave some space for the orange highlights. I'm gonna go ahead and lay that in here, here, like that. Let it blend in a little bit at the edges. Don't be too stressed out about it. Right here, right here. Those orange highlights really make it the whole composition so interesting. With the yellows and greens, it's so pleasant to look at. Like that. Okay, rinse our brush. Grab some green, gonna grab some yellow, and then just for these leaves right here, it's more of a yellow-green, so that's why I pre-mixed it. I'm just gonna kind of lay it in. And you'll even notice that if you choose to do more of a green or a yellow in a certain part, it'll look just fine. There's just so many colors with the changing leaves. It will not make it look weird. Heck, you can even do an abstract painting. You can just use whatever colors you want. You can throw in like some purple and blues and pinks. Sometimes that's fun to do. Kind of like an abstract fall, plant life. There we go. Okay. This over here is going to be mostly yellow and then just a little bit of orange. So go ahead and grab that. Just grab the yellow, just lay it in like that. We'll also add a little bit of brown towards the base here. Grab some orange right here like that. Rinse your brush, maybe dry it off a little bit, but there's still moisture in there, so we're going to kind of blend that in a little bit right there. After that, we'll dry it off. We'll grab a little bit of the brown, not too much. Just lay it in right here. There we go. Rinse off the brush, dry it off, and kind of just blend them in. There we go. That looks great. Rinse off the brush, grab your yellow, and we're going to just go ahead and lay that in between the spokes of this wheel. Don't worry if you go into the wheel itself, because we will be kind of like blocking that out with a dark color. So just go ahead and lay in that yellow, as well as up here. All of this is going to be yellow. All of this. We will add the brown branches and some brown leaves in here, just not yet. So we're just blocking that in. That already looks great, by the way. I really like how this looks so far. Grab some green, lay that in, mix it in, rinse off my brush, mix that in with the yellow, right there. Okay. And some green over here. Grab a little bit of brown. We're gonna add that in right here. Just kind of blend it in so it's more of a brown green as the leaves transition, and kind of fill it in. Try to make sure that you're not blocking the lighter colors down here. Just, you want to make that contrasting space. And fill that in. Okay, rinse our brush. So there's areas over here that are still drying, and same with kind of here and here. You can also tilt your head a little bit as you're looking at the paper to help you determine better what areas are drying. So, because you can kind of see the light bouncing off of them. I'll do that right now. Okay, so this area right here is pretty dry. Go ahead and just grab brown directly from the palette. We're not going to dilute it or anything, because we want the branches to stick out a little bit. So we're just going to go like this, basically just outlining where the branches would be. Like that. A little bit like that. It does not have to be perfect. Don't even stress it if it looks a little weird and jagged. Honestly, branches in the wild are kind of like that. They're just all over the place, so that might actually add to the effect. Like that, and then like that, in here, a little bit in here, like that. There's a branch over here. Do that. Those nice dark brown branches really help anchor some of this together, because there is so much chaos. It's so interesting to look at nature and paint it, because it's chaotic at the same time so organized. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera. I'm trying to kind of get it in there without blocking the camera. Go like that, like that. And a little bit over here, not too much. There we go. Oh, also over here, actually. One thing, I'm just going to add more water here. One thing that I should say, and I'm sorry if I'm gonna block the camera a little bit just to show you. If you're going at an angle and you're trying, like if you're holding your brush at an angle, like I am right now, and you're trying to do like a thin line, it's harder than if you hold the brush straight up and down and then just go like that. The only thing is I have to be mindful of where the camera is. So that's why I'm kind of like having difficulty getting the thinner lines. But you get the idea. Yeah, if you hold it more up and down, it's much easier to do those straight lines. And rinse your brush off. Next, we will go ahead and mix the color for the wheels and basically the stand for where the cannon is. So this is going to be kind of a dark purple gray. The way we will mix that is by first getting a little bit of the light blue. Actually, we'll probably get the dark blue. That'll be better. The brown. So that looks good. And then the purple. The purple can be pretty strong depending on what brand you're using. If you're using my palette, it'll definitely be kind of stronger. And go ahead and test out a little bit over here. See, that's too purple. We'll go ahead and we'll push it more towards the blue. A little more blue. We need a little more blue. Okay, that's good. However, this is too concentrated. So I'll go ahead and I'll dilute it. We can just mix that in, it's all right. Go ahead and dilute it and try it again. Let's see. That's too concentrated. Maybe a little more water. Because the first wash, we want it to be a little lighter. That's good. We want it to be a little lighter so that we can add shadows to it as we progress. So just go ahead and lay it in. Don't worry about all those details. Once it dries, it will dry lighter. You can still see the details. Go ahead and put all that in slowly, and it's okay if you go outside of the lines. All of this, and it actually helps because this is a dark purple, kind of like a dark desaturated purple. It helps it stand out more against the yellow branches, the yellow leaves. Go ahead and add that in here. It's a nice contrast, but it's not too much. It's not overpowering. And just kind of take your time. Remember, it's not a big deal if you go outside and blend it in a little bit. It's totally fine. In fact, I like seeing that. It makes it look more organic. And there we go. Okay. And then the other end, or the other wheel, I should say. We'll go ahead and just block it in. You can see already as parts of it dry, it just gets lighter. Don't worry, we will add more detail. It's just part of the layering process. Especially when it's such a detailed painting. There we go. And I just realized that I forgot some of the, like in between the spokes over here, I forgot to paint in the rock that's over there. That's fine. We'll wait on that for a moment. So now that we have that blocked in, we have to wait for all the purple parts to dry. And so while that's drying, I'll just get a little more space here to mix colors. So while that's drying, we'll go ahead and mix the background here. So all the background is basically one color with a little bit of gradation. It's kind of a teal color. What we'll do is we'll grab some light blue, and that's probably more than enough. Add water to dilute it. So it's a good light, that's good. Grab some green, a good amount of green. And that's probably too green. Let's see, yeah, it's just a little more blue. We want to push it a little more towards the blue. Let's see, we'll do that. A little more blue. Just a little more. Almost there. That's okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's see. And we don't want it to be too strong. So we're diluting it with a lot of water. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to add a bunch more water, and that's good. It's probably exactly where we want it. So this part right here, where the sky is, will be lighter, and where the river is will be lighter, and the rest of it we can just go ahead and block in. So we'll just go ahead and block all of that in without worrying about it. I know it kind of hides the detail right now, but remember, as it dries, it'll be lighter, and then the detail will come back through more clearly. So just go ahead and block all that in. Don't worry about it too much. And the reason why we're using this color is because the further things are in the background outside, the more sort of blue-green they become, just because of the atmosphere. I think there's a word for it. I think it's called like atmospheric diffusion or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Okay, and then just clean off your brush, and just with the water on your brush, kind of pull out some of that color that's in the back. Just pull it up towards the sky and kind of create that gradation from the land line up into the sky. Or the horizon line, I should say, rather. Just pull it up. Okay, perfect. And then same thing, just block in down here. We're just blocking in all of that. Don't worry too much. If you end up going into some of the other details, totally fine, no big deal. As we add the contrasting shadows, you won't even notice it, really. Go in like that, a little bit here. And then back here, we can just block in all of that. There we go. Perfect. And then same thing with our brush that's slightly moist. We're just going to pull out some of that color and just bring it in. Just very faintly, because you don't want it to be just pure white. You do want to cover that in so you can see. There. Okay, I'm just going to step back a moment. That's looking great. I'm very happy about how that looks so far. So the next step will be to start mixing in the darker colors for the rocks. So we can, well actually this is pretty dry right now, so we can go ahead and fill in between the spokes here where I forgot to do that. If you didn't forget that, just ignore this, fast forward maybe. But I just have to go ahead and put that in just to make sure. There we go. Just cover all that. And I put maybe a little bit too much in there. I'm just going to dry off my brush without rinsing it because I'm still using the same color, and then just pick that up. There we go. And as it dries, it will become more like this color. Okay. And so now, actually, I could just use this exact same spot right here, since it's the same color that we're mixing, just a darker version of it. We'll go ahead and we'll grab some of this brown. Oh wow, that's way too strong. We'll go ahead and grab some of this dark blue, a bunch of it. A little more. Okay, a little more dark blue, and okay, now it's too much dark blue. Grab a little more brown. Yeah, the thing is, these colors are very pigmented. And a little more blue. There we go. Okay, that's almost a little more blue. There we go. It's a little better. So now what we're doing is we're filling in the darkest parts of the rocks. Okay, I'm just gonna get a little more blue. Sorry, it's just like I gotta. The mixing is bothering me here. Okay, there we go. That's good. That's good. And so what we'll do is add in some. Just watch how I do it, and then feel free to follow or rewind if needed. But there's creases in the rocks where light can't get into very well, so it creates the details in the rocks. So you just want to lay those in kind of like that, carefully. And you do want them to be this dark just because it creates the contrast and the texture in what's going on in the rock. And down here, and like that. And the same up here. There's not everywhere, just here and there, just maybe a little bit of a outline just to show that there's some cracks in the rocks here and there. Not everywhere, just occasionally. Like this big rock over here, there's a big outline going around it because it's blocking the light that's coming from upwards or directly from above. And you can create more of the distinction of where that rock is and where the light is coming from. So just kind of like that, plug that in. A little bit of a line right here. Also a little bit of a line here, and kind of like that. If you stop and look at rocks, I mean, there's just so much detail there. I actually met a guy one time at an art festival in Florida, and he specialized in painting rocks with watercolors. And he was so good at it, it looked like a photograph. Like, the guy was very accomplished. He had won a lot of awards just for painting rocks. Okay, so we have that. Now, there is a variation of color in these rocks. So what we'll do is we'll grab a little bit of the brown, we'll rinse our brush, and just kind of mix it in a little bit with the gray. And then we're going to grab that color and just lay it down just in some parts. Yeah, it's a bit too dark, but just in some parts, kind of like that. Kind of like that. And it'll dry pretty light, don't worry about it. Like, I know it looks kind of weird right now, but yeah, just lay it in, making kind of like spots, almost like the rocks are dirty, or maybe just stained over time. And then rinse your brush. We'll let that dry. So once it's dry, we'll be able to lay in the shadow from the cannon onto the rocks. So yeah, so that looks good. We do need to add the base color of the cannon itself. For that, I'll go back to this palette, or plate, I should say. I'm going to grab some of the dark blue, a good amount of the dark blue, a little bit of the light blue, and then some green. And honestly, that's probably good enough. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, we're basically wanting a darker version of the background color. And so we'll go ahead and we'll lay that in. And you might think to yourself, it looks a little bit too much like the background color, but when we add in the shadows, it'll separate it much more. There we go. Just add all of that in. Looking good. Okay, that's good. And it looks a bit dark, but again, it will dry lighter. And while we are waiting for that to dry, we can use this area over here to mix some of the dark green, which we will use to create shadows in the leaves that we laid down. Although actually it will probably be easier first if we mix a little bit of brown. Rinse our brush with a little bit of yellow to add some of the shadow for where the yellow leaves are. So over here, for example, we'll add a little bit like that. And just faintly. It does not have to be too strong, especially since they're further back. You can't see them. Like the details in this. You just want variation, because there's a lot of variation in wild shrubs and leaves, and adding that variation in color creates that illusion. So that's fine. Honestly, that's perfect right there. We don't even need to do more than that. And I'm just gonna grab our green and then add some brown to it. And this is pretty good. This is almost exactly what we need. Basically, I'm just gonna kind of like do short kind of marks, almost like little U's, and then just put them in here and there, kind of like that. Maybe just dab the paint around a little bit, because you can see that it creates that illusion of shadow. And I know this is a longer tutorial. Feel free to come back to it at any point if you're getting exhausted, because you don't want to start messing up. And then we can add the same thing up here to show where the shadow is. Just a little bit of outlines, a little bit of just kind of like short bursts, short brush strokes, just to show, okay, there's some detail here, there's some shadow. Back here, as it recedes more to where the branches are coming out of, kind of like that, a little bit in here. So that looks good. And then same over here. There's a lot more of it over here in this corner. We're just gonna darken up the corner. Making these two corners darker help frame in the setting a lot better. Okay, just kind of short little strokes, kind of like sporadic, maybe a little bit into the highlights here, just to show. In there. And let me just step back a moment. Okay, that was good. I'm gonna go back to this plate now. And with this dark purple here, I'm just gonna add a little bit of brown. And then a little bit of the dark blue, maybe a little more. It just neutralizes it a little bit, like takes some of that purple out of it, so that we can focus more on the shadows. And so we'll go ahead and we'll add that in here. in this spoke, just lay it right in there. Okay, like that. And then a little bit over here, maybe a little bit of a thin line, and then thin line here, like that. You're trying to show where there's form with the shadow. Kind of like that. And I know I mentioned this before, but I'm trying, like, if you go straight up and down, it's easier to make a thin line with the tip of the brush. It's just that I'm working at an angle, so I don't want to go like this just to be blocking the view of the camera. So I'm kind of just going at an angle from a little bit further out. And so this part right here, what we'll do is we'll stop right there, rinse our brush, dry it off, and then pull some of this out to give it that faded look as the shadow fades as it goes upwards towards the light. And grab some more of this and go ahead and lay in some shadow for some of these spokes over here, like that. Some lines. And feel free to go very slowly here, especially if you're not used to laying in small details with a brush. Go like that, like that. That. And same thing on this one. I'm going to start off dark down here, kind of bring it up to about halfway, maybe a little under halfway, rinse off my brush, dry it off so that there's still a little bit of moisture, and then just kind of pull up so it gives it that faded look. Okay. And then this right in here, right underneath where the cannon is on the frame, and right on the side of it, we're just going to block all of that in, just like that. And this is going to go out a little bit, actually, kind of like that. There we go. Do a couple of lines here for the small details. You don't have to really get them perfect. You just want to show that there is something there. And then also just a little bit right here, just to show the outline and the differentiation. There's some little knobs and parts here that you can just do some dots and dashes just to show that there's something there. And then this chain that kind of goes down like this, we're just going to ignore that for now, because we do have to lay in the shadow of the cannon. I'm going to add a little bit more over here, just to kind of bring that out from the background. There we go. I kind of messed it up a little bit. That's fine. That's totally fine. And same with this. There we go. I'll rinse off our brush. And then, sorry, I keep saying that. This is the color that we had used for the shadow parts of the rocks. So we can add a little bit more water to it just to thin it out a bit. Go ahead and just imagine a straight line between here and here, between these two. This is this line except the shadow of it. So we're just going to go ahead and lay it down, going directly from there to there, kind of like that. And then a little bit like this for where the cannon is. Then just go directly back towards where this part meets the rock. There we go. This is just gonna a little bit pull that out a little bit just to show that the wheels are casting a shadow. That's pretty much it there. That's all we really need. Rinse off our brush. Let's actually And there's a little bit I missed over here. There we go. Kind of like that. There we go. Rinse off the brush and then... sorry. Let's see, I'm just going to step back for a moment. That's looking good. Now remember, this will dry much lighter. This shadow that we just laid in, it will dry much lighter. We will go back to the Canon here. So what we'll want to do for that, we'll grab a little bit of the dark blue, mix it in with the color that we had, but also just a dash of the brown, a little bit more of the dark blue, a little bit more of the green. We're basically just trying to make the same color but darker. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just test it out. Yeah, that's perfect. Just again, slowly go ahead and lay that in. You want it just basically the base of the cannon. Just kind of going in like this. Very slowly. Bringing it out. Defining that shadow and some of the details. Like that. That's probably good. Yeah. You can just let that dry as it is. Don't even worry about it. Rinse your brush. I'm gonna dry off my brush now. We're almost done. But if you want to, you can let that dry and be done, because this is actually looking pretty good. If you want to, this is strictly just optional, you can add a little bit of... Oh wait, actually no, I'm so sorry. I forgot about this chain here. I'm like trying to think what looks off about this. Yeah, this chain, you want it to be the same color that you used, the same gray purple they used for the frame of the cannon, but you want to add a little bit of black, just the tiniest amount. This black is very strong. Just the tiniest amount, and then just go ahead and just outline where the chain is. You don't even really have to worry about making it perfect. Crap, I forgot that the shadow is still drying, so it will probably leak a little bit. You may want to wait for it to dry a little more. But what that does is it brings it forward. It brings it more towards the forefront. Just like that. I'll probably wait for that to dry a little more before I add more. So now I'm just gonna dry off my brush. And drying it off, as I'm drying it off, I'm kind of rotating it and pulling it away from the point so that when you get a nice point that way. Go wet this black right here. So what I'm going to proceed to do is add some detail outlines. I'm just gonna mix this, the water that I just sprayed in here. You can also just use your brush if you want to get some water onto here. There we go, just like that, and just kind of mix it in. Just kind of get some of that off of the brush. Feel free to do a couple of practice strokes just to kind of get comfortable with doing the outlines. You're really just going back and forth directly from the palette to the painting because you want that really intense black. And the main thing is you want to kind of outline where the details are darker, so really more where the shadows are. So for example, Sorry if I block off a little bit of the camera. For example, the first thing you want to do is right here where the spokes are meeting the wheel. Just a little bit, kind of like that. You're just laying it in. Yeah, see, I made it a little thicker than I wanted. But you get the idea. A little bit on the bottom, because that's where the shadow would be. A little bit of that right there. Down here as well. Down here. And you see kind of how it pulls it out from the background. While you're painting this, feel free to go completely directly over it. Since, you know, if nobody's watching you, that makes it a lot easier. We'll go right here. And also some of the spokes, I'll just go ahead and add some of that outline over here. Some of that. Some of these spokes. There we go. You don't have to do all of the details, just keep that in mind. A little bit in here. Make sure that the cannon is dry as you lay that down. There we go. Some of those details, just a couple of lines here and there, just help the viewer tell that there's something more there. It does not have to be perfect. And over here as well. Definitely down here. Going up like that. We're almost done. I'm just gonna add this line right here to show the form of the cannon. Over here, these loops. Just some more detail. Like that, and like that. Maybe a little bit more on the spokes. I'm just gonna step back a moment. Rinse my brush. And actually, I'm gonna move these aside so it doesn't distract from the painting. Okay, I think that looks darn near perfect, exactly how we wanted it. I like how the lighter colors contrast with the rest of it, how the darker colors in the cannon. Yeah, everything looks pretty good. So that was pretty much it for that one. That's the second page of the Chattanooga Scenery book. I'll leave a description in the video. Again, if you have any questions, if I didn't explain something quite well enough, please let me know. I do try to improve all the time. And I will see you on the next video.